Humility, I feel, is something that a lot of people are actually lacking. And it's probably just because they don't really understand exactly what humility is and really how to go about living a life in humility, how to humble yourself. You might hear it sometimes where you're bragging about something and someone says, hey, humble yourself. Really that simple. So we're going to dive into that today. That's today's topic on humility, what it is, what it looks like, ways you can live your life in humility. And of course, some Bible stories, verses in the Bible that talk about having humility and show you examples of prophets or, people in their stories, in their walks through the Bible where they were where they lived with humility and acted in humility. But first, the definition, just so you know what it is, of humility, it's the quality of being humble or having a modest view of one's own importance. So it involves a willingness to recognize one's limitations, to acknowledge the contribution of others. It kind of includes a sense of self-awareness and also a willingness to learn, from others, from your own mistakes and things of that nature, because that's how you grow. You can't just know it all, right? Like if you think you're a know-it-all, you're not going to have the humility to learn from yourself, to learn from your mistakes or even your wins. You learn from the successes as well. So you're not going to really be open to learning anything there. You're not going to be open to looking for direction and guidance. And the ultimate way to have humility is in God. We'll dive into that because obviously the ultimate guidance comes through God and his word. So how can you seek out guidance if you don't even humble yourself first? It's considered a virtue. It says here, considered a virtue in many cultures and religions, as it is often seen as an important aspect of personal and spiritual growth. As we're saying here, you need to be able to be open to learning, open your mind, open your heart even more to learning in whatever aspect it is. It doesn't just have to be, spiritual. Like I said, it's personal as well. If you're building a business and like for instance, for me, I'm good at my coaching, right? Like I'm very good at planning and putting plans together and coaching and breaking things down in a way that people can understand and I can help my clients in that way. But the marketing side of it is more of my weakness, I would say, right? Out of a strength and a weakness there, and the business side, my marketing would be my weakness of the two. Okay, well, if I humble myself and know that and acknowledge that, now I can seek people who have done it before me, people who are better at it than me, people who know kind of how to approach that, and I can learn from them. That's being humble, having humility in order to seek that guidance wherever it may be in order to help me grow. That's in a personal journey. And then in a spiritual journey, it's simply just humbling yourself that you don't know it all. You don't have all the answers. You don't know everything about life. So you humble yourself and dive into God's word. That's how you get guidance there. So when it comes to humility with, others and learning, and it's really just about being open, having an open mind and heart, like I said, to listening to others and just living in that humility where you're recognizing that you don't have all the answers, that you can seek books, podcasts, YouTube videos, whatever it may be, having a conversation with someone, whatever that may be. It's just you're seeking that, guidance in whatever way you need to and whatever answers you're trying to look for. And maybe that person doesn't have it or whatever. So you go to the next one and so be it. But that's really what it is to, have humility as far as having conversation or seeking out answers and guidance from, another human being, so to speak. But the other key important factor here is you also have to be open-minded to other views, to other perspectives and ideas, because you might want to learn, but if you're not open to, if you think it needs to be done a certain way, you just don't know how to go about that way, but then you learn a completely different way to approach whatever it is. You have to be open to changing your mindset to apply it to that new way of approach. So you also need to humble yourself there and say, okay, I think it might be this way, but I might be wrong. So either way, let me go into this with an open mind, and whatever the value, whatever the approach seems to be, if it makes sense to me, or even if it doesn't make sense to me, sometimes you don't understand it at all, but you do it and you learn along the way. Let me try it. Let me see if it works. And then we can go from there and kind of reassess and see what needs to be what happens next. Another way to live in humility is admitting your mistakes. Nobody's perfect, right? Like God is the only perfect one ever. So he created us. We have flaws. We have sins. We do wrong. We don't know everything. Whatever it is, we make mistakes in our life, and acknowledging that and admitting when you're wrong. Because a lot of times people are stubborn and they might be wrong and they know they're wrong, but they don't want to admit it because for whatever reason, it makes them look weak, or they feel silly or stupid, or whatever reason it might be that you might not want to admit your wrongs and your mistakes. Well, you messed up. We all do. We're all human. We all mess up. So the quicker you own up to that, the quicker you can move through it in whatever way that is. So instead of trying to justify it or cover it up and hide it or whatever it is, just take responsibility for it. And then you can seek to learn from that as well. So again, a lot of it comes back to having your open-mindedness of learning in some way from everything, because you can learn from everything, whether it's good or bad or mediocre or whatever. You can learn, you could find a lesson in whatever it is that you do in life. So when the quicker you admit your mistakes is the quicker you can move on and learn from that and get to the next step of whatever it is you're doing. And then a third way that you can have humility is by serving others, helping others in whatever way that might be. It might be as simple as you wait an extra 3 seconds to hold the door open for the woman walking in that's, a couple steps behind you. That's something very small, but it's a service to other. Sometimes you might be in a coffee line and you pay for the coffee of the next person behind you. It's that kindness, that empathy, that passion, paying it forward, right? A lot of people say it's paying forward. It's you're just serving others in some way. You're having a conversation with somebody and you're listening and you're attentive to them and they're venting maybe and you're there for them. Maybe sometimes they just need to vent, but they just need to get it off and have somebody listen to that. And that's what you do. You don't try to correct them. You don't try to give them answers or anything, and you just listen. That's a service. In church, you serve others. You have missionaries who go around the world and help. You have people who evangelize, who go out and really preach and spread the word of God and Christ and give out pamphlets or whatever that might be. And that's your way of serving. You volunteer somewhere. That's serving. So when you serve yourself, you're humbling yourself by saying, I am not better than anybody else. I am equal to somebody who might not have as much money as me, or whatever it is, as that's the example there. But you humble yourself and live in that humility of saying, we are all equal. We are all human beings. We all have struggles. We all have trials. We all have tribulations. We all have in-betweens. So let me serve how I can. Let me go to a soup kitchen. Let me volunteer for an hour to hand out clothing at a drive or help out in an event at my church or whatever that might be, and just serve others in some way to kind of bring yourself down to earth in a sense. And that's another way that you can just be humble, and helping others is honestly one of the greatest things that you can do for yourself, because you just get a sense of fulfillment and joy and peace and love and warmth within you when you're truly serving somebody and you're not doing it for, you're not doing it for the praise. You're not doing it for any other reason rather than just simply doing it out of the kindness of your heart. You feel that blessing within you when you're doing that. So the ultimate way and how you can act in humility, the first and foremost way that you can do so is seeking God's word, seeking his guidance, and seeking him first. When you don't know anything, when you're stuck, when you're confused, when you're lost, when you're sad, even when you're happy, whatever it is, turn to God first. Turn to prayer, dive in the word a little bit, read the Bible, turn to prayer. From there, you can go to some fellowship, seek other Christians and have fellowship with them, but always be rooted in God first, because you're saying you're less than, in a sense. You don't know all. And this is the only time that we are less than, because God, like I said, God is perfect. We are not. We live in sin. God does not. Christ came and lived on this earth in perfect. He didn't live in sin. We need to try to live up to them as much as possible. We need to be as righteous as we can in order to be as Christ-like as we possibly can. When we humble ourselves there and we seek God first, we seek his word first, we are humbling ourselves, we are bringing ourselves down a notch, we are knocking ourselves off that pedestal maybe and saying, hey God, I don't know everything, but you do. Help me help guide me in whatever way it is, that you're looking for, and start there first, because he always has the answers. The word, you will always find an answer in the word. So when you admit that you don't have all the answers, you're acting in humility. So I want to give you 3 verses, 3 examples of many in the Bible talking about humility and, what it looks like, what this person did to humble themselves in whatever way it is. And now you can go through the Bible and find many, many more examples. I just want to give you three real quick, with the third one being a big one. The third one is like, wow, this person was that humble. Like this person was that humble. Oh, then I really need to take heed of this and be humble. So the first one is a tax collector in the book of Luke, and in particular, chapter 18, verses 9 through 14. It's a parable telling the story of a Pharisee and a tax collector. They both go to the temple to pray. The Pharisee prays with pride and arrogance, thanking God, that he is not like other sinful people, basically saying he's holier than thou. He's better than everybody, right? He's talking down on these people in prayer to God. And the tax collector is very humble, and he admits, hey, I'm sinful. I ask you for mercy, God. That's what you got to do when you're wrong, when you're doing wrong. Just ask for forgiveness. And human life and God and spiritual life, whatever it is, just ask for forgiveness. Admit your wrongs, like we said earlier. So this tax collector is saying, I'm sinful, and can you please give me mercy and show me mercy, God? And Jesus praises the tax collector's humility and reminds his listeners that all who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. When you take yourself off that pedestal, when you say, I don't know everything, when you say, I'm not so much better than anybody else, you will receive more blessings in that, because God is saying, okay, well, you're right. You're not better than the next person. You don't know everything. Let me help you and guide you, and I will start to show you more. That's just one example of, where you can see, like I said, the Pharisees is just, what's the point of even praying at that point, right? Like, it's almost like he's going to God and saying, hey, give me praise. Like, look at me. I'm so good. For what? God's not going to do that. God's not going to say, oh, yeah, you're a millionaire. You're so good. You're so good. No. Why? There's no point to that. Sure, you have more money than the next person. Good for you. But the other person has humility. And when they get there, they're not living in sin. So when they get to God, God is going to praise him, and God is going to open those gates and let him into heaven, where you're so like boasting and rightful to your own self that when you get there and you're living in sin, that's it. You're not asking for forgiveness. So God's going to say, who are you? I don't know you. We can also turn to Moses in the book of Exodus. In this case, chapter 3 and 4, we'll break, this is just breaking down. So like I said, the first one was Luke 18, 9 through 14. I kind of give you the shortened version of that. So if you wanted to go in particular and read the whole entire kind of passage there, you can do that. In this one, we're talking about Moses in Exodus 3 and 4. So again, you can get the, lengthened version there if you want to read all the way through it and get the full story. But this is just kind of a synopsis of it to give you the idea. So God appears to Moses in a burning bush. And Moses was very humble. Moses wasn't a good speaker, first of all. And it wasn't like he was necessarily humbling himself. This was truth, where he wasn't a good speaker, and he wasn't confident in himself. He wasn't confident in his speaking abilities, or his abilities in general. But God will use you in ways that you might not even understand or think that you can do. So in this case, Moses, initially resists God when God is telling him, hey, you're going to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. You're going to lead these people, this entire nation, out of Egypt to a better place. You're going to do this, Moses. And he resisted. He felt unworthy and inadequate of the task. And he didn't understand why he was the one that was doing it, when he was basically like, hey, there's so many other people that are better for this job. Like, why me? And, he questions his abilities. He questions, why are you choosing me? And he says, okay, well, I know that you have a plan. I know that I should listen to you, God. So give me help. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why you're choosing me for this, but give me help. And you may feel that in your life. You may have a calling or a purpose that you felt, and it's the Holy Spirit that's dwelling within you, kind of pushing you towards that and helping you guide, but you don't really know what to do. You just feel something, I should go serve in the church, or I should, even more if you become, if you're like, maybe I should be a missionary, or maybe I should go overseas, or maybe I should go here, or whatever it is. If you get the nudge, the pull to do something, turn to God and ask him, and he will show you the sign when it's ready for you. So if you, let's just say church, you feel something like, I should do something in church. I want to do something in church. I feel called and compelled to help out in some way in church, but I don't know what to do. Well, seek God and ask him and pray and say, God, God, I feel this. I feel a calling of some sort to help in church, but I don't know what to do. I don't know how to approach it. I just know to help in some way. And then God will send you a sign. Somebody might come up to you in church that week or the week after or whatever and say, hey, I see you here a lot. You're participating in conversation or whatever. And we actually have this event going on and I need a couple more people. Would you be interested in helping? Well, there's your answer. God answers your prayers. Or just go ask somebody, right? Like if there's an event coordinator or whatever in the church, go up to them and say, hey, Julie, I know you put on events, the next one that there is, let me know and I want to help out and let me know how I can help out. And then God will answer your prayer in that too, because God knows your skills. So he will put you in something that you'll be helpful in, even if you don't think you are. That's humility. But even if you're just like, I don't really know what I'm going to be able to do, but like, I'm going to do it. You humble yourself and you get there. Next thing you know, you're an hour into the event and you're kicking butt at it because God knew that you were capable of so much more than you thought. So that's really the second instance. And then this third one, if the first two don't show you what humility looks like, this third one is going to knock you off your feet. So we're talking about Jesus here. We're talking about God's only begotten son, right? Lord of Lord, King of Kings, okay? This man, Jesus Christ, is Lord of Lord, King of Kings. Lord of Lords, King of Kings. Like, holier than thou. Like, this person is holier than thou because he is perfect. He is God's son, his only one, the one who heals, the one who performs miracles, the one who saves thousands and millions of people. We can go on and on about Jesus Christ and what he is and what he does and what he stands for and like who he is as a person and his value as a person. But even he humbled himself. I'm going to give you one of many examples here where he was washing the feet of his disciples. So people that follow him, okay, they follow him and he turns around and washes their feet. He's the teacher. He's the leader. He's the one that knows more in a sense than them because God has gifted him with all of this, right? God is leading him. So he is teaching these disciples. He is showing them the way, but yet he turns around and humbles himself by washing their feet. So this is in John 13, 1 through 17. This one I would definitely suggest you really dive into and read the full story here instead of just this little bit of a breakdown. But he demonstrates humility by washing the feet of his disciples. It's an act that was typically performed by servants or, lowly individuals. So basically, like if you had Jesus and then like he's the teacher and then you had the students and then you had, whatever else there was, the lowly person, whatever. Well, the person below the students would be the ones who were washing the feet. But in this case, Jesus does it. So Jesus tells his disciples that he has set an example for them to, follow in serving others and being humble. So what he's doing is he is showing you that, hey, even me, Jesus Christ, is humble enough to turn around and wash the feet of my disciples, to wash the feet of my followers. I am no greater than you. That is what he's saying. That me, I have every reason in the book, every reason in the world to think and I'm better than you, to act as if I'm better than you, but I'm not. I am equal as you. I can even be less than you in a sense, and I'm going to show you that by washing your feet. A job that would be somebody way beneath my pay grade, right? Like you have a CEO, and then like Jesus is the CEO, and then you have, the manager, and then the assistant manager, and then the brunt worker. Like the brunt worker would be the one who's washing the CEO's feet or washing the manager's feet. But in this case, the CEO comes down and says, nope, I'm going to do it. I'm washing the feet today. And that's what he does. That's an ultimate act of humility there. It's Jesus Christ. And he's acting in humility right there. So I definitely would suggest reading that story for sure. Like I said, John chapter 13, 1 through 17 specifically, but you can read the whole chapter, obviously. And there's many other instances where Jesus humbles himself. This is just one example there in all three examples right there that I can show you in stories of humility in the Bible. So to break everything down before we go, kind of give you the shortened version of this, it's basically, there's a lot of ways that you can humble yourselves. I gave you three kind of the almost main ideas that you can use for humility. So it's reflect on your strengths and your weaknesses, reflect, taking time to reflect and recognize that you don't know everything, that you do have strengths, but maybe you can get even stronger, that you do have weaknesses that maybe you can work on as well. You can learn, you can grow and all of that, and take everything that you go through and that you do know or don't know and just learn, apply and grow from there, admitting that you don't know everything basically. And then the second one is just seeking out, diverse perspectives. So when you seek those answers, don't just seek a narrative that you want. So even even though you're open to learning, you're still kind of steering the narrative to a certain answer that you're particularly looking for that might not be there. And in most cases, it's probably not going to be there. So instead, seek perspectives from different people, right? Like, don't just go to the first person and say, okay, yep, that's the answer. If you need an answer for business, seek 3 different people who have done it. Maybe seek a person who sold $1 million in whatever business it is, that sold $5 million in the business it is, and then someone that's 3 months in. You're in day one, maybe someone that's 3 months in. You get 3 different perspectives and angles to attack whatever it is that you're trying to learn. So that's definitely a way that you can help yourself in humility as well. And then the third is practicing empathy. Again, that's serving others, being kind to others, paying it forward, whatever that might look like there, and just being more kind in general, because that'll cultivate humility as well, because you're saying, that we're all equals in a sense, that we can all go through different times and struggles and wins and whatever that might be, and that you might be in a better place than the person behind you, but you're still going to turn around, humble yourself, and help them out in whatever way you can. Like I said, by serving others, whatever that looks like. You can literally go on Google and say, how can I serve others in my community? Personal outreach in my community, events, fundraisers in my community, charities in my whatever it might be. Look into that if you don't know, and just start looking around and try and have an open mind. That's really what this is all about. So those are 3 ways, 3 stories, 3 examples of humility from the Bible and present day life that you can apply to, and how you can apply it to your life and start to act in a way that is more humble, more kind, and just bringing yourself down a level and reminding yourself of, how little we actually are in this world. Because if you ever seen the picture that if you look from space, like, we're just a tiny little space, like we look like ants. If you go out and you go up in giant telescope from other planets or whatever, we can't even be seen. Or if we are seen, we look like tiny little dots. We look like ants on the giant spectrum. So humble yourself, remind yourself of these things, practice these things, and you'll start to live in more humility naturally. So I hope you take something from this message. If it resonates in some way, make sure you like the video so we can get the algorithm going and help more people to see this message in my channel. Subscribe, find your way back for more. Turn the bell notification on. That is how you can be notified for every single video that I post. I post one every single week of these messages every single Wednesday. And then every single day I post at least one, if not multiple, short little 30 to 50, 60-second messages of Bible scriptures, Bible studies, and messages and things like that on the short. So you can also check those out. As always, socials for, my personal coaching and fitness coaching and life coaching and all of that will be linked in the description. And I just appreciate every single one of you that takes the time to come out and watch my videos and comment on the videos. And I would love to hear from each and every one of you if you would like and create more fellowship and build more of the community around Christ. So as always, keep love and peace in your hearts and keep God first.